Hello everyone, welcome to the ITLS Academy. Today we are going to discuss another topic in the series of food processing, and the topic that we are going to discuss is about the blanching. Simply, blanching is a process of food processing in which it is used to inactivate the enzyme. Inactivate the enzyme. See, for the inactivation of the enzyme, we require a blanching, and these enzymes are responsible for the spoilage of the food product. So that's why we have to inactivate it. Okay, that process is known as a blanching. In blanching, simply what we do, either we use a hot water or a steam, and we submerge the fruits and vegetables into it and hold at least for a 10 minute. Then after that we submerge it into the cold water for a same period of time, that is around 10 minutes. It is known as a blanching process. So this blanching is basically used for the inactivation of the enzyme. Let's start the lecture. Blanching is a unit operation. Simply, this blanching is what? It is a unit operation which we done during the other processing of the food product, like your freezing, canning, or drying. If we do this blanching before the freezing, canning, or drying, then that process become more active, and it can be done in fruits or vegetables in which it is heated so that it will inactivate the natural endogenous enzyme. These blanching also modify the texture, preserving the color, flavor, and nutritional value, and removing the trapped air present inside the food product. That is known as a blanching process. Now, the next is your blanching also serve as a variety of the function. Like one of them is being to destroy the enzymatic activity which occur in vegetables and some fruit product prior to further processing by the heating. Okay, simply blanching is done for the destruction of that enzymatic activity, and these enzymatic activity are responsible for the spoilage of the food product. So when we done a blanching, that enzyme are deactivated, due to which the food spoilage does not occur. Then after that we further process the food product either by the heating, freezing, or canning, or any other method. As such, it is not intended as sole method of preservation, but as a pre-treatment which is normally carried out between the preparation of the raw material and later operation like heat sterilization, dehydration, and freezing. Blanching is also combined with the peeling or cleaning of the food product so that it achieve in saving in energy consumption, space, and equipment's cost. See, here two diagram of the cauliflower represent that without the blanching. Okay, so the first diagram is a fresh cauliflower which is not blanched, and when we put it for some period of time like without blanching, then browning reaction is occur, and due to which you can see that there is dark color cauliflower occur. You can see that at the skin of that cauliflower dark colors are occur. It is occur due to that browning reaction. This reaction are occur due to the enzyme present into it. Blanching of the food product can be done objective like inactivate the enzyme metabolic, maintain the color, texture, flavor, and the nutritive value of the food product. Here we inactivate the enzyme so that we get the metabolic action, also maintain the color of the food product, texture of the food product, flavor and the nutritive value of the food product. It also low the microbial load around 90% and adds in packaging whites vegetables and remove the respiratory gases, remove the dirt, leaves, etc. and adds in peeling. A few processed vegetable like your onion and green pepper do not require blanching to prevent the enzyme activity during the storage. Here there are some vegetables are also there which is not required the blanching for the inactivation of the enzyme. That vegetables are onion and the green peppers. Okay, so but the majority suffer considerable loss in quality if blanching is omitted. Suppose that there are lots of the vegetables are present in the market which are lost, which are lost if we are not perform a blanching before the storage. Okay, to achieve the advocate enzyme inactivation, food is heated repeatedly to preset temperature. Then we held it for a preset time that I already told you. What we have to do, we boil the we boil the vegetable into hot water at a particular set temperature or particular set time. Then after that we transfer that food product into a cooling water because we have to cool it repeatedly to near that ambient temperature. It is very important, so we have to done this. We have to put it into the hot water, then at the same time we have to put it into the cold water. Now the next is the factors which is responsible for the blanching, like types of the factor which influence the blanching time, that is your type of fruits or vegetables, size of the pieces of the food, blanching temperature and method of the heating. Type of the fruits or vegetables, size of the pieces, blanching temperature, method of heating. The maximum processing temperature in freezing and dehydration is insufficient. See, if we do if we reach the high maximum temperature in freezing and dehydration, but it is not sufficient for the inactivation of the enzyme. But if the food is not blanched, undesirable changes in sensory characteristic and nutritional properties take place. Suppose that we have a food product and we are not blanched that food product, okay, and simply either we freeze it or either we dehydrate it, okay, but the maximum temperature, even the maximum temperature does not give us sufficient inactivation of the enzyme, and we get what we get the undesirable changes in that sensory characteristic of the food product and their nutritional properties when we store the food product. In canning, the time taken to reach the sterilizing temperature, particularly in large can, may be sufficient to allow the enzyme activity to take place. It is therefore necessary to blanch the fruit prior preservation operation. Under blanching may cause more damage to the food than the absence of blanching does. Even everything have a drawback. Maybe blanching affect this deteriorate the some property of the food product, but if we compare the blanched food and unblanched food product, then that unblanched food product may affect the more quality as compared to the blanched food product, because heat which is sufficient to disrupt the tissues and releases the enzyme but not inactivate them. When we apply the heat, then it is sufficient to destroy the tissue of the food product and also become the reason for the destruction of the microorganisms. Okay, but it is not sufficient for the inactivation of the enzyme and the substrate. In addition, only some enzyme may be destroyed, which causes increased activity of the others, and it accelerated the deterioration of the food product. So enzyme which causes a loss of eating and their nutritional quality in the vegetables and fruits included, that is your lipooxygenase, polyphenoxylidase, and polygalactolinase and chlorophyllase. Two heat resistant enzymes which are found in most of the vegetable are catalase and peroxidase. Although they are not cause the deterioration during the storage, but they are used as a marker enzyme to determine the success of the blanching. Okay, these enzymes are not responsible for the deterioration of the food product during the storage, but they are marked as a success of that blanching. Peroxidase is the more heat resistant of the two, so the absence of that residual peroxidase activity, it indicate that other less heat resistant enzyme are also destroyed. The factor which we have to control, that the factor which is responsible for the rate of heating and the center of the product can be summarized like the temperature of heating medium, convective heat transfer coefficient, size and shape of the pieces of the food, thermal conductivity of the food product. Blanching reduces the number of contaminating microorganisms so on the surface of the food and hence assist in subsequent. Blanching not even destroy the inactivate the enzyme, but it also reduces the number of the microorganism present into the food product, that microorganism which are responsible for the spoilage of the food product, because here we give a heat, so heat till that microorganisms. In this is particularly important in heat sterilization, as the time and temperature of the processing are designed to achieve a specified reduction in cell numbers. Blanching is also used for the softness of the vegetable tissues because it facilitates the filling into the container and it removes the air from the intracellular spaces, which increases the density of the food and assists in the formation of the head space vacuums in the cans. Equipment, the most whispered commercial method of blanching involve the passing the food through a atmosphere of the saturated steam. Suppose that this is our food product and this is a saturated steam. Now what we do, we pass the food product through that saturated steam or even a bath of hot water. Both type of the equipments are relatively simple and inexpensive. Either you use a saturated steam bar or a bath of hot water. Both equipments are what? They are not much costly and they are very simple to use. Then microwave blanching is not yet used commercially on a large scale. Steam blancher. In general, this is a preferred method for the food with a large area of cut surface, as leaching losses are much smaller than those found using a hot water blancher. As its simplest a steam blancher, it consists of a mesh conveyor belt that carry a food through a steam atmosphere in a tunnel. The residence time of the food is controlled by the speed of the conveyor and the length of the tunnel. It is typically 15-meter long and 1 to 1.5-meter wide. In conventional steam blanching, there is often poor uniformity of the heating in the multiple layer of the food product. The time temperature combination is required because it ensures that enzyme it activation at the center of the bed, which is result in overheating of the food product at the edges, and it consequent loss of the texture and other sensory characteristic of the food product. Advantages and limitation of that conventional steam and hot water blanches. So first we discuss the equivalent, that is your conventional steam blancher. They are smaller. Advantages is that there is only a small loss of water soluble component, and also there is a small volume of waste and lower disposable charges than the water blanches, particularly with air cooling instead of water, and it is very easy to clean and sterile. Limitation is that it is limited for the cleaning of the food, so washer also required. Uneven blanching if the food is piled too high on a conveyor, some loss of the mass in the food product. Next is your conventional hot water blanching. Lower the capital cost and better energy efficiency. Steam blancher. Higher cost in purchase of water and charges for the treatment of large volume of dilute evoluent to risk of contamination by that thermophilic bacteria. Next is your hot water blancher. So there are a number of different design of blancher, each of which hold the food in hot water at 70 to 100 degrees Celsius. Here what we have to do, we set the temperature of a hot water near 70 to 100 degrees Celsius for a specified period of time, and then we remove it to a dewatering cooling section. In the widely used reel blancher, food enters slowly rotating cylindrical mesh, then drum which is partially submerged into the hot water. Then the food is moved through the drum by that internal fight and the speed of rotation and length, which we have to control the heating time. So this is a blancher. First diagram represent the IQB steam blancher. Then B is blancher cooler from Halstrom, and C is your counter current blancher. Blanching effect on the food product. Heat received by a food product during the blanching in inevitably cause some changes to the sensory and nutritional quality. See, in blanching, what we have to do, we supply the heat to the food product, due to which there is some changes occur in their sensory quality of the food product and nutritional quality of the food product. However, the heat treatment is less severe than the then for example, in heat sterilization and resulting changes in food quality are less pronounced. If we talk about the general, then the time temperature combination which is used for the blanching is a compromise which ensure that at adequate enzyme inactivation, but it prevent the excessive softening and loss of flavor in the method. Nutrients. Some minerals like water soluble vitamin and other water soluble component are lost during the blanching. If we talk about the nutrient, then some minerals, water soluble vitamins and water soluble component, they are lost during the blanching, and loss of vitamins are mostly occur due to the leaching, thermal destruction, and to a laser extent oxidation. That extent of vitamin loss or totally depend upon the number of factors like maturity of the food product, varieties and method and preparation of the food product, like cutting, slicing or dicing. Surface area to the volume ratio of the pieces, method of the blanching, time and temperature of the blanching. If a temperature is higher for a shorter period of time, then we lost a less vitamin. Then methods of cooling, ratio of water to food, in both water blanching and cooling. Effect of blanching on a cell tissue. S is for a star gelatinization, CM in cytoplasmic membrane, CW cell wall, little altered, like P is pectin modified, N is nucleus and cytoplasmic protein, denature, C is equal to chloroplast and chromoplast distorted. Effect of blanching on method on ascorbic acid, that is your treatment, then the loss of ascorbic acid. Like if we do a water blanch, water cool, so P losses around 29.1%, broccoli 38.7, green beans 15.1. Then second treatment is your water blanch air cool. Here P losses are 25%, broccoli 30%, green 19%. Steam blanch, then water cool. P losses 24.2%, broccoli losses 22.2%, and green beans losses 17.7%. Steam blanch air cool. Peas losses 14%, broccoli losses 9%, and green beans losses 18.6%. Color and flavor. Blanching brightens the color of some of the food product. When we do a blanching, then their color are enhances because it removes the air and dust which are present on the surface of the food product, and due to which the wavelength of the reflected light are altered. The time and temperature of blanching also influence the changes occur in a food pigment according to their D value. Sodium carbonate, that is 0.125% W by W, or calcium oxide are often added to the blancher water to protect the chlorophyll and retain the color of that green vegetables. Enzymatic browning of cut apples and potato is preventing by holding the food in dilute 2% weight by weight brine prior to blanching. Okay, if we have to blanch the cut apple and potato, so before blanching we have to pour that food product into brine solution, then after that we do a blanching. When correctly blanched, most food have no significant changes to a flavor or aroma, but under blanching can lead to a development of off flavor during the storage and dry or frozen foods. Texture. One of the purpose of blanching is soften the texture of the vegetable, which facilitate the filling into the container prior the canning. However, when used for freezing or drying, the time temperature condition extended to achieve that enzyme inactivation cause an excessive loss of texture in some type of the food product and in large pieces of the food. We added the calcium chloride which into the blanch water, so that this calcium pactate are insoluble complex, thus it maintain the ferments in the tissues. So this is all about the blanching of the food product. I hope you will understand, but if you have any query related to this, you are freely to ask me in a comment box, or for a further detail you can follow the ITLS Academy on different platforms, that is Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, WhatsApp and LinkedIn, and subscribe our channel ITLS Academy on YouTube and get our app from a Google Play. You can also ask your query to the helpline number that are already mentioned in your slide, that is 7080833450, and visit our website, that is www.itlsacademy.com. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe our channel.